Hi, everyone, and welcome to Rescripted Podcast, where we can celebrate the great things in life, share about the not so great parts, and find out how we can rewrite those challenges, turn them into insightful moments that will lead us to change, to growth, to happiness, and empowerment, all so that we can live the life we truly want to experience. I am Amy Quiles, a personal development coach that helps high achievers overcome achievement constraint. In today's episode, we're going to be discussing something that a lot of us may be going through, but very rarely admit it or even know that it's really happening anyway. And that is when you are a high achiever, but you still feel stuck. No matter how much you've achieved, no matter how much ground you've covered, or no matter how many milestones you've been able to cross because of your dedication to your work, there's still something that you feel inside where you feel like there's still something missing. And that could be such a barrier for you as you're continuing on in this journey and trying to continuously evolve and grow and reach all of the successes that you really want to. So the thing that's so hard is that as a high achiever, you know what you need to do to get the work done, right? You know how to execute, you know how to achieve, you know how to propel yourself to the next level. You have it in you. You have the work ethic in you, and it's actually very admirable. But although you're getting celebrated on the external components, there's the internal components of you that still feel like, is this it? Is this all? It can't be. And well, that feeling inside of you still makes you hunger for more. And it makes you feel like you haven't really completed your goal, your task, your ambition, your vision. You feel like there's still more to achieve. So what do? You create more goals and you continue to go down this journey where you're still developing new ideas, maybe developing whole new different businesses. And all the while, you don't even know if they all connect correctly. You don't know if it's still all connected to your original vision and passion. And before you know it, you're overwhelmed with so much work that you start to feel burnout. If that's you and you feel like that is what you're struggling with, then this video is for you. In my journey as a personal development coach, I've really found a certain area in personal development that I really gravitate to, and it's helping high achievers really get out of their own way. There's so many times when people look at you because you're a high achiever and think that there's nothing wrong. You have everything together. You know how to get yourself out of, challenging times. You know how to rise above. You have great resilience, great endurance, and you will always win. But the problem is that when high achievers do have moments of challenging struggles, it's hard for people to even want to understand that they're real struggles for them, So sometimes as a high achiever, everyone looks to you for guidance, for answers, for opportunities, for new paths in life to be able to get on their own path and trajectory to success. But when they look at you and they see you struggling, they almost treat you like, oh, you could brush that off. Oh, you're fine. You'll be okay. You are always okay. You always land on your feet. And that really dismisses that person's feelings, and it really dismisses their journey. And honestly, we're all growing, and everyone is going to have those moments of stumbling in life, whether they are high achievers or not, whether they're extremely successful or not. No one is exempt from growth, which means that no one is exempt from having moments of challenging opportunities that will bring them to greater successes. But sometimes that path isn't always smooth. That path isn't always filled with the knowledge that you already have. Sometimes you need to go on that journey to attain new knowledge and new experiences that are going to propel you to that next level. So no matter if you are someone who is down on their luck and really just trying to make it, over to the next stage in life, or if you are somebody that has a continual history of succeeding, it doesn't mean you don't struggle. And it doesn't mean that you don't go through challenging moments. So to be able to help people like that and understand that, they're human too, and that they struggle too, and they need support, and they need love, and they need guidance too. Well, I really fell in love with those people because sometimes they almost feel like they don't have the right to complain. They don't have the right to be able to vocalize their challenges, because people look at them in such a way, and people look up to them in such a way that, they almost look like they're not allowed to have challenging moments, or at least they're not allowed to vocalize that. And that causes them to internalize what they're feeling, and sometimes that manifests into other different things, causing more and more problems internally, that then just makes them have to be more quiet about more challenges that they're going through, and that can trickle on and be different things. So I really gravitated towards high achievers that struggle with this, and I've been able to coin it as achievement constraint, because it's not that you can't achieve, it's not that you don't have what it takes to achieve, but you don't know what is stopping you from going that extra mile that you know that you want to go, and that you know that you're really trying to get to. But there's a weird stumbling block along the way that you can't see. And it's hard to see because all of your efforts and all of your focus is on creating a blueprint, creating a map to exceed and to continuously propel on the journey that you're trying to go on. And you have mapped out that journey to a T. There is no I you have not dotted. There is no T that you have not crossed. So when you get to challenges and you realize something is missing, then that's the point where you have to see that there's when you have achievements, right? When you're going after goals, that's an external factor. That is something that you are physically doing and you're able to execute, right? Whether you do it alone, whether you do it with a team, you're able to do that externally. But the challenge and the hiccup is that we think that our external goals are going to be connected to fulfillment. And that's where the disconnect is, because that's not always the case. When you have those external goals, then you've achieved success. You have achieved where you've been able to effectively execute something. You have been able to effectively deliver something, right? So whatever you started and did, you completed it, and you were able to complete it in a successful manner. So you were able to execute. So that is your external success. But the internal success is, are these things connecting to your true purpose, your true passion, what really matters to you? Because when you start any project, whether it's personal or professional, once you start, if you don't keep a close eye on the motive and the intention in which you started to do this, you can lose track, because things can really develop into so many different opportunities, really could develop to have so many different viewpoints and options. So if you're not really clear on what you're doing and why you are doing it, you could really lose sight of what journey you're trying to go on, what direction you're trying to go on. And it's happened to all of us. It's absolutely happened to me, where I start off on something and I'm so passionate about it, and as you keep developing something and as it keeps unfolding, then you look at the more opportunities that can really come from this situation that you didn't even consider before. So you're excited because it's something that can be even bigger than you imagined. And then you start going on all these little paths to learn, to explore, and before you know it, you're off that proven path that you were really trying to stay on in the beginning anyway. So you almost feel like you lost time. And if you're a high achiever, you value time so much that when you realize, I spent a couple months going down the wrong journey, it's great because you realize what other possibilities are out there. It's great because you realize what you want, what you don't want. So you got great feedback, you got great data. But because you value time, sometimes you can beat yourself up because you're just like, I wasted so much time. I could have been further. Because internally, you keep chasing these different levels of successes that they're externally. And what you're failing to see is, all of us, what we fail to see sometimes is that it's the internal fulfillment. So when we tune into that and when we tap into that, we're really able to see, are we in alignment or are we not in alignment? And that's going to be the part where you're able to assess and see and pivot, and pivot in the right way, that everything that you do still has meaning to you. And you're going to see that now you're not going to feel like you have to chase so many goals. You don't have to chase so many opportunities. You're going to have one main one, and you're going to be able to mold it, and you're going to be able to craft it in a way that's meaningful to you. And the opportunities will come. But you'll be able to see, does everything still stay core to the reason why I started all this? Does it still have the same purpose? Does it still hold the same meaning from the original intent? And the only way to do that is to be able to tap into your internal validation. And that's seeing if it lines up with what you originally wanted it to line up with. And when you're able to line up with that, you fall in love with life again. You fall in love with the journey again. When you start to come across some stumbling blocks, you still fall in love with them because you realize they're not meant to break you. They're meant to build you. And you're able to look and say, okay, where do I need to develop? What are the things that I need to start understanding and learning and pivoting towards? And it becomes a nice journey, and you don't get frustrated with the everyday situations. You're able to make greater impact because you have more understanding of the substance behind everything, behind every good thing, behind every bad thing. Because if everything works in your favor, and even the challenging things that happen are meant to build you, then it's a lesson, and you really get to see how you can show up better for yourself, and show up better for your community, show up better in your profession, your family, and overall you are on this continual trajectory of being able to be a version of you that you continuously get to know and continuously get to be excited over, because you get to contribute, you get to use what it's important to you, and you get to contribute that to your community, your society, and see how it brings value to all. But you have to realize it needs to be valuable to you so that you could care for it in that manner, and then that way it can hold the maximum value. Because then when you care for something, you treat it differently, you operate differently, you develop it differently, versus if you're just trying to get things done, well, you feel it, and even when somebody receives something, have you ever received something and you're just like, well, this was just thrown together? You feel it. You feel that whoever was involved in it, this really wasn't their lane. And it's lackluster, and therefore that experience that you have also lacks that beautiful experience that you wanted to have, or it was intended to have. Have you ever gone to a restaurant where you're like, this is so beautiful, but maybe the food wasn't up to par, maybe the service wasn't up to par, and you had these great expectations, and it really didn't meet what you were expecting? Or even products or clothes or anything like that. You think people, sometimes you have this high expectation, and then you have the experience, but because the development of it lacked the value that it was supposed to have, then your experience changes. So that's really what we're trying to avoid. We want you to be able to do things from the core of your purpose, your intention, why you love something, be committed to it, so that when you deliver it, it is delivered and it is received in the manner which you want it to be. Because if you don't look at these things, and if you don't course correct, and if you don't really look internally and say, okay, is this in alignment with what I want? There's so many other different things that you develop, you're going to be able to see that there's things that you're going to start developing that's going to get you stuck. Like, for instance, let's say you really want something to be great and you worry about it being perfect. Then you're going to sit there and you're going to worry about this pristine image of it. And it's not going to allow you, when you try to be so perfect, it really doesn't allow you to be creative. It really doesn't allow you to get outside of your box per se, right? When you just want it to be in a certain way and you don't give it space and room to breathe, that's one avenue. But also something about perfectionism, where I think a lot of people get wrong too, is that they think that is what you want, that you want it to be perfect, and it needs to be precisely in the way that you envisioned it. And yes, to a degree, yes. But then there's a different level of that, and a lot of high achievers really can understand this, that when you're working on something, it's not to work on it just to get it done. there's a certain level in you. There's a component in you that says, nah, you got more in you. You got better in you. So you try to continuously like push yourself. You try to continuously evolve. And although other people may think that where you are and what you've done is great so far, but there's something inside of you is like, you know, you want to do more. You got to do more. There's a better version of it in you. So you want to keep developing that. And sometimes that can, you know, just take a couple more hours. Sometimes that could take a couple more days. Sometimes that could take a couple more years. So that's not fun. If that is something that you find yourself struggling with, that you are great at executing things, but you still have that feeling internally that you just didn't get that feeling that you thought you would, you don't have that excitement, you feel like you're not done yet, and it's causing you to continuously, you know, create more goals so that you can keep chasing it, because you're chasing this feeling of like, eureka, like we finally made it. But in fact, instead of feeling that, you're actually feeling like you haven't done enough, and you get on this like hamster wheel where you keep allowing yourself to be busy and being productive, but you're not achieving what you're really after, which is that true sense of fulfillment, that true sense of like, this is what I wanted from the beginning, and let's go ahead and make this the best journey ever. If that's something that you are wanting to dive deep into, and you're wanting to be able to develop that in your everyday life, in your work and your professional life, then go ahead. I have the link where you could book a discovery call with me, and we can work through that together and see what are the areas where we can strengthen you up. And I have my program, my one-on-one coaching. We also have group coaching, and that way you don't feel alone, and that way you could see that it is a common thing. A lot of people do struggle with this, and it's nice to be in community and realize that we're not as isolated in some of our challenges as we think we are, you know, and it's going to be easy to overcome these things once we're able to kind of clear a little bit of the fog out of the way, and we're able to understand that it's achievable, and we don't have to be on this hamster wheel forever, where we're chasing dreams and we're chasing goals, and at the end of the day what we're getting is really burnt out and feeling like an imposter, right? Because that's really what imposter syndrome is where you're doing so much, but yet something about it doesn't feel like it's complete. It doesn't feel like it's earned. It doesn't feel like you deserve this, because part of you still doesn't even feel like it's that you gave it all that you could, because you didn't get that feeling of fulfillment. So I will be happy to help you with that and help you guide you to achieve that, because life is beautiful. It's meant to be beautiful, and with that there's growth, and growth, you have challenges, and that's just inevitable, but you don't have to beat yourself up over these challenges. That are going to build you to be stronger and greater in every aspect that you want to be. We help you really just kind of change that perspective and realize that everything works for you. We just have a few things to tweak, and we're able to get right back on track where we originally wanted to be. So if that is something that you struggle with, and that is something that you definitely want to work through to overcome, so that could be a thing of the past, then go ahead, book a discovery call with me, and we could start that journey together. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. And if you enjoyed this episode and feel like it was insightful, then I ask you to please rate it, like it, and subscribe, and share it with someone you feel will enjoy it. I'll be back here next week, and we will continue to discuss matters regarding personal development. Take care, guys. Have a blessed week, and I'll see you next time.